Welcome back, everyone, to the Friday edition of Sports Call here. We'll take your calls a little bit later on in the program, 888-9-TIGER-9 or 334-887-3401 locally. And we'll go back to the Sports Call hotline here, sponsored by Tiger Communications. We want to welcome in Ronnie Sanders with FootballRumorMill.com and AuburnUndercover.com. Ronnie, you there with us?
I am. Good to be with you.
Ronnie, appreciate you being with us. And obviously a lot of rumors, no pun intended there, swirling around the Texas coaching situation. And a lot of people were expecting Mack Brown to be out today. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut straight to the chase. What have you heard lately on this? And then we'll dive into it a little bit more.
Well, they were supposed to Mack Brown, the president, and the AD, were supposed to meet this afternoon. And I just got off the phone with one of the coaches, and it appears that that meeting is happening. There's no Mack wasn't around the office, so they think he's in the meeting. They've got 15 recruits in, and the coaches have been on the road all week, so nobody really knows what's going on. It's a heck of a way to run the program, I tell you.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of disarray, and that was one of the things that people were saying. Does Nick Saban want to leave Alabama, and even for a lot more money, and become involved in a situation where a new AD was going to be coming in? It looks like the president is going to stay, though, from what I heard today. Ronnie, is that true?
It certainly looks that way. I mean, the board gave them a vote of confidence, but at any time they could certainly meet and change their minds. But if you remember what happened with Auburn during Jetgate and all those kinds of things, the board's really not supposed to get involved in coaching searches, and certainly not firing a president over a coach. But the problem with the president is that he's locked horns with the governor, Rick Perry, and they've been at odds over admissions policies and academic standards and those sorts of things for quite a while now. So there's a lot of politics going on in Texas, and a lot of powerful boosters, and you got a new AD and a president, the president of the university, and the governor, who just don't get along.
Well, Ronnie, let's talk about Nick Saban. You think Nick Saban's genuinely interested in this job? I know what we talk about with Jimmy Sexton. He's doing what he's supposed to do to get his clients a better contract. But do you think somewhere around he is deeply or genuinely interested in this job? And then number two, if he is, seeing all of this go on over there right now, would that be something to say, man, look, I think I'm going to just stick where I am?
Well, I think that any coach always listens. And so he has an extension that hasn't been signed at Tuscaloosa. And so what does that mean? It may mean that he just wants more money. It may mean that he's looking at Texas. I'm not really sure what it means. But, I mean, Texas is a great job, even with all the dysfunction. You look at all these different jobs. I've worked at 4 different places, and they were all dysfunctional to an extent. When I was fired when we were at Florida Brunswick, and that was completely dysfunctional, and I was a student at Auburn when Terry Dobbin was fired, and we don't have to rehash that. So there have been a lot of different, every place has its quirks. So I don't think that would dissuade him from taking the job necessarily, because it's most people would tell you that's the best job in the country.
Well, and it is money-wise, obviously, and every time a coaching search comes up, you hear Texas. Auburn's lost a couple of assistant coaches to the University of Texas. Obviously Will Muschamp and Gene Chizik ended up going out there as coordinator, so a little bit of a fear was there until Gus Malzahn went into Jay Jacobs' office and got some things solidified about his future at Auburn moving forward. But you hear that, but then you look on the stat sheet, and they won 1 national championship since 1970. And actually, we were talking about programs that have underachieved in the BCS era. And I definitely think Texas is one of the top 2. I think Georgia's the other one. I think, you look at talent-wise and recruiting classes and facilities and assets and things at their disposal. I think Georgia and Texas have both underachieved with what they've been able to do.
I don't think there's any question. Mack Brown's been there for 16 seasons. He has 2 conference championships and 1 national championship. And the national championship was with Vince Young, who was a phenomenal player. So certainly they've underachieved. I think they've won 4 national championships in their history. So I just think if you look at the jobs, it's really like, kind of the way I look at it is, it's kind of like Florida State, because you're a similar conference. You don't have a lot of competition. You've got one really, you got Oklahoma, and that's close to an equal job. But you've got a lot more money than Florida State, and you've got an even better recruiting base, because if you offer at Texas, it's more like selecting at Texas than it is recruiting. If you offer, as one of the coaches out there told me, he said, the issue here is not recruiting. He said it's being great in your evaluations because if you offer, they're coming. So it's just a really, really good job. So, but there are a lot of demands too. You've got the Longhorn Network, and you can't really lock them out. They're giving you tens of millions of dollars. So everything has a payoff.
Everybody wants to ask Nick Saban if he feels like there's pressure at Alabama. What would it be at Texas if he were to make upwards of $8, maybe $9, even maybe $10 million a year? You don't think there'd be pressure there? Well, you look at what Mack Brown did, and I know things are different now. But for the first 10 or 11 years, all he did was win 10 games. I mean, he did win a couple of conference championships, one national championship in there. But Texas fans allowed him to just keep moving right along with 10-win seasons. And, the last 4 years have been less than stellar, though, and that's kind of what have gotten, Texas fans on the out with Mack Brown wanting to get somebody in there different. So, but, I think there's definitely pressure for more money, but I don't think there's any more pressure than what he would face at Alabama because Nick Saban's established a culture of winning football games and competing almost yearly for national championships. I just think Texas would like to be mentioned in the breath of competing for a national championship year in and year out.
Well, I think that it's easier to do that at Texas because you look at who you play. I mean, Texas A&M, just to show you the difference, Texas is about to run a coach out of town who's 8-4. A&M just gave their coach a $30 million, $5 million a year extension. It's a 6-year extension worth $5 million a year over 6 years. So, but A&M's 4 losses were to 11-2 Missouri, 12-1 Auburn, 11-1 Alabama, and 9-3 LSU. So there's a big difference in the competition, and you look at that division. It's the best division and the best conference in the country. You look at Texas and who they play. Well, okay, Oklahoma's pretty good, but Oklahoma might be the worst 10-win team that I've seen this season. And then you look around and you've got Oklahoma State, which is certainly not an equal job. You've got Baylor, which has pretty much been it was probably the worst job in the conference for the first 12 years of the conference, the Big 12. So Mark Briles has done a great job, but it's easier to win based on who you play at Texas, much like Florida State. Now, you look at who they play, and you line up against Duke and Wake Forest and NC State and people like that, and it's a lot easier than lining up against Auburn, Alabama, LSU, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee.
We got Ronnie Sanders on with us from footballrumormill.com and Auburn Undercover. Before we let you go, Ronnie, just got to ask you how you feel like all of this is going to play its way out. Does Nick Saban just stay there and obviously get a bigger extension, a much more lucrative contract than he already has with Alabama? And if so, who does Texas get? Or does Nick Saban just say, look, I can't turn this down. It's way too good. I got to go to Texas. And what do you see happening?
Well, I think the first thing they've got to do is figure out how to get Mack Brown out. I think that's really the first question. I mean, like I said, they've got 15 kids in this weekend. You've got a coaching staff that really doesn't know what's going on. My guess is that they'll figure out a way to get him some sort of a golden parachute and get him out the door. I'm told their top 3 list is Nick Saban, Jim Harbaugh, and Jimbo Fisher, and that they want somebody in place quickly. If they don't get Nick Saban, they're certainly not getting Jim Harbaugh or Jimbo Fisher quickly. So it's going to be interesting to see what plays out. My gut tells me Nick Saban stays at Alabama, but again, when he left LSU to go to Miami, nobody really knew what was going to happen. He didn't tell the coaches. He didn't tell the players. They get on a plane to go to the Citrus Bowl, and he walks in a team meeting and tells the coaches and the players at the same time. And that's when everybody found out. So he keeps things very close to the vest. And if he makes a move this time, I would imagine it'd be fast.
Well, all good stuff there, Ronnie. And, again, we really appreciate you taking out some time today and to be on the program to talk about this situation. We look forward to having you on again soon, okay?
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much, Ronnie. And that's Ronnie Sanders with footballrumormill.com and auburnundercover.com. And, again, talking about Mack Brown and the situation with Nick Saban. And funny thing was yesterday, both of them almost ran into each other on the recruiting trail out at a place in Texas. As Nick Saban was coming out of the house, Mack Brown was standing out on the sidewalk about to walk in. So kind of a weird situation there, especially with both those names being reported with this story.